So, well, welcome, first of all. We're glad to
Thank
have
you.
you. I know this is your first time at one of our events, so we're really thrilled to have you,
Yeah.
although you are an Austin girl.
I am,
so
yes, based
you've
in
been
Austin.
here. So anyway, first of all, just before we even get into that moment, that viral moment, as I mentioned, there are ways to, everyone, you can't necessarily plan to have this. You know, you say, okay, this video is going to go viral. But there are ways to be ready for it. So talk about that a little bit and how you set yourself up, because you guys didn't, it's not that they just rode the wave, you were able to amplify it. So talk about that.
Yes, absolutely. I have worked in the social media space for almost 11 years now, which not a lot of social media managers can say. And you all may be the company, you may be the person hearing it from the company, but so many brands want to go viral. And it's definitely like a trigger word sometimes, because you can't go viral out of the blue on your own. You can't force your brand to go viral. So this was a conversation we were having at Kendra Scott all the time. Our C-level suite was always asking me, like, how do we make a viral moment? How can we make this happen? And having to tell them that it's nothing that we can plan for, we just have to keep listening. And I was like, trust me, please just trust me that like our team is listening to what's going on in social, and when we have that moment, we will strike. So really on social, we have such an ability to listen to what customers are talking about, listen to what they're saying about our brand, and you really just have to like be there and have your ears open. And sometimes it may not even be a positive thing that they're saying about your brand. And I think that's the beauty of TikTok, is there's so much humor on that app, where sometimes brands are able to hop into a conversation about their brand that may not even be 100% positive, but they're able to kind of jump in, make it funny, poke fun at themselves. But all that to say, really, being on the platform on TikTok was really an important part for our brand to have a viral moment. So just being on the platform, creating content for months and months, a year really, before we had this viral moment, and listening to what our customers were talking about really is the key. So it's just being in the space, which sounds really simple, but on TikTok it's true, and there's so many brands that still aren't on the platform.
Well, also, I think, as you said, you are watching it, so you, one, saw that was happening, so you were able to jump on it. But two, since you have been on it and knowing it, the last thing they want to feel like is there's an intruder coming on. So, and you guys are able to make that happen by just being a part of it in even a smaller way until you get this viral moment that everyone wants.
Yes.
Well, all right, now let's get into the moment. So talk about that, and from just like where it sort of started kicking in, and then how you guys sort of, you know, not only, as I mentioned, rode the wave, but made it even bigger.
Yeah, as Lisa mentioned, we were seeing on TikTok, just again, our social team is very active on social media, as they should be, and spending time, you know, every day, every evening, scrolling their feeds, seeing what people are talking about. And we were all getting, you know, and we're all very different people. And if you spent time on TikTok, everyone has a very different For You page, which is why they call it that. And we all were getting the sorority rush content. And, you know, I was never in Greek life. Not in Alabama. I had no idea why I was getting it. And then sure enough, start just watching the video, because I'm like, why is this showing up here? Sure enough, the girls are saying, earrings Kendra Scott, necklace Kendra Scott. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, when they say For You page, they are not kidding, because it fell right into my lap. And then I, immediately like send it to like myself on the brand account then, and we start engaging with that content. So yes, in a sense, it almost feels like, oh, lucky that it just like fell into our laps that we were being served that content, but it was everywhere. And again, once we like engaged with that first video, then we kind of fell into this stream of all the other content that was happening, of all these gals showcasing their outfits of the day, and so many were wearing Kendra Scott jewelry. And they weren't tagging our brand, they weren't hashtagging our brand, so there was no way to find this content besides just being on the platform and spending a lot of time on it, which I know is not an easy answer. And I think if I heard someone say that to me, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I don't have the head count to, have someone spend every waking hour on TikTok just to see who's talking about our brand. But it's worth it, because moments like this can happen where people are organically talking about your brand. And so once we saw that, we, from the brand, commented on these videos. And we saw a comment that we left on a video get 10,000 likes in a few hours. And I was like, what is happening? Like, this is just going up and up and up. That a simple comment of us even saying, like, like You Go Girl was getting that much engagement. So I was like, okay, there's something here. So then it was really activating our creative partners internally the next day and saying like, okay, we need to create some content. We need to be, leading the conversation of what's happening here, because there was definitely a lot of people poking fun at, all these sorority girls, predominantly white as well, and then kind of looping our conversation into that brand and twisting it negatively. And so we were like, okay, let's have fun with this and not make it into a negative topic of what's going on, just have fun. So let's get to work, let's get into the office, let's create some looks that girls would wear during Bama Rush. Let's create, an audio using a loop of all of their audio, and let's just keep thinking and start jumping in and creating there. So we are lucky that we're definitely a mid-sized brand, but we do our creative internally, so we're able to jump on a lot of, social trends pretty quickly, or really make any type of creative changes. I mean, even this morning we were talking about oh, this earring is selling really well. Can we get some new content of it up ASAP? And it's okay, that is what I'm gonna rearrange my afternoon and do. But it's worth it, and I think it's something that's really great about social. So anyways.
Well, actually, I have a couple of follow-ups
Yes.
to what you said, but let's maybe look at the videos first
Yes,
so
I
they
was
can
gonna say,
say,
let's look at the
show them
videos.
what we're talking about, and then I'll
Yes.
ask.
Choose your courage.
Before we go into the next one, so this was the first that you
Yes.
ran.
Mm-hmm.
Why was this kind of creative chosen? What made it work the right way, and when did you decide to actually post a video?
Yes, so we saw the content on a Monday night, and we got this up Tuesday afternoon, so the next day. So again, really fast. And at this time, we weren't back in the office, but our office was open for us to use, and we have obviously all of our jewelry there. So our audience loves to see kind of any type of styling content, showcasing people how to wear multiple pieces of jewelry, the layering. So we were like, okay, take that insight of that they want to know how to style jewelry, and then showcase kind of different, just kind of inside jokes that were going on already in the first 24 hours of Bama Rush.
Okay, so all right. So then, how long did you wait to post the second video? Which we're gonna let's see that second video first.
Earrings are Kendra Scott. Next is Kendra Scott.
Necklace Kendra Scott.
I wore these Kendra Scott earrings just to spice it up,
This is Kendra Scott.
Necklace from Kendra. Necklace Kendra Scott.
Kendra Scott earrings.
Necklace Kendra Scott.
So we posted this then the following day, so on Wednesday of that week. And again, by that time, it just was growing everywhere. You go on, Twitter, and people are like, what is going on with my TikTok? There are all these white girls in Alabama talking about jewelry and their outfits. And, again, a lot of times they're pointing out oh, they're wearing designer expensive items, or they're getting everything from Amazon. There's a lot of commentary around that too. So again, just noting that there was some negative conversation, which I think would make some brands maybe pause and say, do we want to be involved with this? Do we want our brand to be affiliated with this as our core customer? But I really ultimately had to make the call, and I was like, yes, this is just becoming such a large topic on TikTok, and I think that it's worth it, even if we're poking fun at ourselves a little bit. And again, I think that humor angle on TikTok is so important. But yeah, this video made us all laugh. I'm smiling rewatching it because it was a real loop of all of the real girls saying their Kendra Scott things. And so when we made that audio, we actually reached out to all the girls too, just to cover our bases and let them know that we were doing that, and then sent them some additional gifting. So that also helped us make a connection with these girls in real life, and it also kind of continued the story because we sent them gifting, and then they made content opening the gifting, and they were like, oh my gosh, and they felt very special. So it's a way to continue it.
That's awesome. Well, let's look at the third one.
Earrings are Kendra Scott. Next is Kendra Scott.
Necklace Kendra Scott.
I cannot believe this. There are so many of you wearing Kendra Scott. This is amazing. I am absolutely obsessed with all your incredible looks. I want to say, hey, Bama Rush, way to go. How amazing. And I can't wait to see what university is going to be next.
Okay, now you have to, so, all right, when, again, timing-wise, when did this come in, and then what made you not integrate, Kendra Scott?
Yes, I was gonna say, if you don't know, this is the Kendra Scott, which a lot of our audience on TikTok doesn't even know that she's a real person. And I think that is, again, it's a new audience on TikTok. And I think that's something that's great about that platform is we're really getting our brand out there to people who may not know anything about us. So to get Kendra involved, again, was a really big thing I was passionate about and pushing for. Again, we're really fortunate to have, a direct relationship with her. So I'm able to, call her and be like, okay, this may sound weird, but there's this thing happening on TikTok where everyone in Alabama is wearing our jewelry. And she's just like, okay, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to say? Show me some videos. And she was on vacation, actually. And I was like, I promise this is like really important. But again, I thought it was really important that we were getting so many new eyeballs on our brand to interject our founder. We have such a great founder story. So getting her face in there, and the commentary on this video too was like, Kendra Scott is a real person. It was like the top comment over and over and over. So again, just thought it was a fun way to like showcase that like we as a brand were like fully invested in the storyline as well.
And this one you posted
The next day,
the
so like
next
Thursday
day. So
that week.
1, 2, 3 is kind of how you set it up.
Yep.
And you mentioned that it's a lot of positive, organic, but also some negative. But also it was all, as I mentioned, organic. And TikTok is it can be fickle in terms of if you don't come across real, they're going to turn against you.
Yes.
So did you ever pause to say, and I know that you had that discussion, you mentioned it earlier, that your team wasn't sure when you took that decision, but why? Like, why not just let it run organically, which was doing very well anyway?
It really felt like the first time on TikTok that our brand was being brought up in, again, a mostly positive way. Again, I think the outfit of the day videos by the sorority rush gals were positive. They were putting them out there just to have fun and get people engaged with what's going on in their life. Like, it didn't come from like malintent. It was really people, on the internet saying certain things about these people, making stereotypes about them, et cetera. So it was really a conversation that people were putting onto it that was separate than what was like actually happening organically. So since the heart at what was happening and what the content that the girls were making that were rushing was positive, I was like, I think this is a safe space for us to interject, and we received really positive response back. So again, I think even people, including myself, like I said, I was like, I don't know why I'm getting all this sorority content, but it's kind of funny. And I just took it as like a lighthearted moment, and luckily all of our content that we put out there went very positively as well.
Well, and that's if by doing that, by getting involved, is it that, as I mentioned earlier, you sort of accelerated the kind of response you were getting from people. Do you credit that? Like, do you think it would have happened naturally if you let it just run on its own? Or do you feel like by being there, by really jumping in a very positive way that fits in with the site, within the channel, that made you guys go so much more to the top?
Absolutely. And I will say too that there are other brands that were being mentioned, Dolce Vita, for example, which is a shoe company. They were being mentioned in almost all the videos as well. And I was just sitting there like waiting weeks to see if they were going to make any content, because I was like, you guys could do the same thing that we're doing, and I just showed you how you could do it. Weeks later, they did something, and it was over then. So I do think, again, pushing my team and saying like, we can do this easily. It's not going to take a lot of heavy lifting. We're just shooting the content on an iPhone. We have the product samples. Here are the inside jokes we can interject into the creative. So again, holding hands with the creative team, making that happen and making it happen quickly really paid off. And I do think that that's what ended up helping not only, I think Bama Rush was growing and getting very big, whether or not we were involved as a brand, but I do think that the press mentions and what we saw from us interjecting ourselves in that conversation, we were really one of the only brands that got that because we were the first one to do it. So we got 4.3 billion media impressions from all the press articles. So my PR team was just kissing me and loving me because they were like, how did you do this? Like, we haven't had this many impressions in so long, and this all happened in August, which is, kind of ramping into that holiday season. So obviously a really great time for a retailer to have, you know, a New York Times mentioned, People Magazine, Business Insider. And again, we were one of the few brands that was mentioned as jumping into it. So I think that is what ultimately like paid off, is getting that press response.
Yeah, and backing up a little bit, you did say when Dolce Vita, was that?
Yeah.
When they finally, weeks later or whatever. So talk about in terms of how fast you need to respond on TikTok. Like even, like when was this wave done?
In 1 week. Like it started on, because it was rush week too. And I remember saying that to our CEO, because he's like, all right, what are we going to do next? How are we going to keep this going? I said, it is rush week. Like it is over on Sunday. Like it started Sunday night. Basically girls were like prepping their outfits. And then it was like their rush activities. And again, I wasn't in Greek life, so this was all very new to me, and I was like researching it. I was like, all their events are like Monday through Friday. They'll get their like bids on that Friday, and then Saturday they'll know. They'll have, again, I don't even remember the terminology, but they'll have their big ceremony where they find out what sorority they're in on like the Saturday. Sunday, it's over. Like, we don't need to talk about it after Sunday. Like, this is it. And that was hard for some of our like senior leadership to understand, because I think when a brand, gets, obviously goes viral on a social channel, then gets all these press mentions, it's just like, okay, how do we keep this going? Do we create a line of jewelry specifically for Alabama? Do we have a whole section of our store dedicated to this? And it's like, no, like we don't have to do all that, because it's going to be over in a week. And we did like dabble a little into some of those things. For example, like I said, we gifted some of the gals that were talking about us. They continued to like post about us. They continued to wear us, and then they're tagging us, and they're kind of turning into mini influencers, if you will. So I thought that was a good kind of halo effect of continuing the conversation, but it really is only 1 week.
Yeah, and it seems like it's just as important to know when to get out of the conversation as it is when to get into it.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, and why, because I'm curious, or did you decide to, when you're going so well on TikTok, why not take that same content that you created and, do Facebook, Twitter, whatever, Instagram? I mean, first of all, did you try to do that? And if not, why?
Yeah, that was a very big conversation that I got a lot of pushback on internally. Again, me using my years of expertise and thinking this really is only on TikTok. I saw on Twitter people were talking about it just as like, wow. It's almost like people like us. It was like people who work in the industry are saying, what is happening on TikTok? And look at these brands, and more so from that angle. So I was like, that's interesting. But we did post one of the TikToks, the first one that we saw, on our Instagram Reels, because I said, okay, I will try it, I will see. And people did not get it. They honestly did not know what we were even talking about. They didn't know what Bama Rush, the comments were brutal. They were just like, what is this? What is Bama Rush? I go to UT. I don't want to see this red jewelry. Like, the commentary was so bizarre. And there were also like comments that are like, I thought, you guys loved UT. I'm so offended. And I was like, well, this is going absolutely wrong. So again, I think social is a great place to test and learn always, and I'm a very big proponent of that. So again, if the team is saying like, well, let's just try one video, I'm like, okay, we can try one video. I don't think it's going to work on Reels, but let's do it. And it didn't work. So we didn't even try it on any other channel, and we just really let it ride it out on TikTok.
Well, and you talked a little bit about your impressions, which is amazing in terms of with the press. But how about, what were your KPIs? Like, what were you seeing in terms of metrics for this?
Yeah, and one thing that is kind of great about going viral is you kind of have no idea how high it's going to go and how wide it's going to go. So it was really exciting to see. I mean, we saw a lift on our TikTok channel. We had 800% week over week increase in views. So that was crazy. So we had all these new eyeballs on our brand on TikTok. We had 2 million views on these videos, which was amazing. And again, all organically, no media put behind it. So again, getting that amount of eyeballs on a new channel in front of new customers was amazing. So socially, again, we didn't start off with any KPIs we had to hit. We had no idea how it was going to go, but saw that engagement. And then on the website, we were able to see that we had an 18% increase of new customers on our website, which was incredible. And again, since this wasn't like one product SKU focused, people were buying, anything, but just getting them to the website and having them shop around was amazing. And then we also were able to drill down and see that we had an increase in customers from the state of Alabama. So I was like, okay, we can most certainly take credit for this.
That's great. And when you talk about it, and I think everyone wants to be able to sort of extend that. And when you saw the more customers online, which of course is important, but you want to keep it going. So talk about what you do. Like you said, it was all organic. Did it make you now want to invest in TikTok, or how can you best work TikTok? Because I think that's a problem, or not a problem necessarily, but something that when I talk to people, they're sort of like, yeah, we've had some, but we don't know how to control it, or yeah, we do this. And again, you can kind of sit back and wait for this kind of moment, or are there ways to set yourself up to not only be ready for it, which you already discussed, but to sort of maybe push your way to create it a little bit?
Yeah, and I think we've tested a bit paid-wise on the TikTok platform, but we haven't seen the greatest return, which is a little surprising. We haven't put major dollars behind any ads specifically on TikTok. Some of the spends are astronomical. I mean, they have ads that are $500,000, and we just haven't seen that type of revenue return on TikTok quite yet. But what we have seen work, and really even coming off of Bama Rush, is influencers on TikTok. So within my role, I oversee all of our social strategy and our influencer strategy, which is really great because I'm able to take something like Bama Rush and say, okay, let's add on, new Alabama influencers. Let's continue gifting these college students and see like what the return is there. And then even from there, we have now a program where we're having, at least like 10 to 15, so not an astronomical number, 10 to 15 TikTok exclusive influencers every single month that are paid to post Kendra Scott. And we see really great response. Again, we're seeing a lot of people saying like, I've never heard of this brand. So there's still so much brand education going on TikTok, which is so different compared to any of other platforms on Facebook, on Instagram. People know us, they know our brand story, they know Kendra. But on TikTok, it really is this brand new audience. So the influencer angle and putting money into influencers on TikTok has been really worthwhile.
So it still makes up, is it a big part of your, well, I guess with your mix even, and I know you don't really get into all that, but social plays a big part, I'm assuming, in your media mix. But TikTok still is more of an organic add-on, or however you want it, but just is there a way, as also, like you sort of talked about working with influencers, do you invest in that as well, or is that, again, just who's using it and find that person?
Yeah, so yes, we spend a large budget on investing in influencers. So that is paying for posts. So it's obviously gifting them the product so they have it on hand, but it's paying them to guarantee that they're posting, making sure that they know like which initiative we want them to talk about. That is a very large, part of our mix, on Instagram and now TikTok as well. And again, we really see that it's like hearing from people wearing the jewelry, seeing how they wear it. Jewelry can be really personal, and you can wear it so many different ways that it really does help having like someone's opinion and voice behind it versus just seeing an ad. We do have, an extensive, paid social strategy as well that has, TikTok isn't part of the mix, but Instagram and Facebook really are the anchors of that. And I think it doesn't quite drive the same conversion as that we're seeing with some of our influencers. Again, I think hearing from real people and how they're wearing the jewelry really does help in this space.
Right, and I want to let people ask questions, but I do have one. Is there a way to jump on a sorority kind, what happened with Bama Rush?
Bama.
Bama Rush. I'm definitely not a sorority girl, or was never. Is there a way to find that, or those kind of opportunities? Like, how are you guys looking at TikTok when you're thinking about what you're going to, follow, or, I guess follow isn't the right word, but whatever.
Yeah, and again, I know it's not an easy fix, it's not an easy way to do it, but really spending time and having resources to spend time on the platform and just see what people are talking about is so crucial to success on TikTok. There's no easy button, there's no tool that anyone has created yet that showcases what's trending quickly on TikTok. I mean, even the front page of TikTok that shows the trending topics isn't as accurate as it could be. So really spending time on their works. We had, similar, success listening to our customers talking about Taylor Swift. So we, as soon as her Red Taylor's Version album came out, we were making lots of Taylor Swift content, and same thing, that got 1 million views organically, and it's like, wow, this is exactly what our customer's talking about. This is what she's excited about this week, is on Friday, new Taylor Swift album. So it really is just listening and taking the risk to jump into that conversation. Obviously, my legal team hates me, and all the things I do carry a lot of legal risk, but on social, we haven't had, any legal ramifications happen yet. But obviously, TikTok is a tricky place legally, so I do know that.
We'll keep that on the charts. Do anyone have any questions? I actually, can I start actually one first to follow up with what you just said? How do you know so much about your customer in the sense of, I'm sure TikTok has a very particular customer that may be different than someone who's on Facebook or wherever. So how are you getting that kind of data from them?
Yeah, we are doing a lot of social listening. We do have, deep, Google Analytics and research on, our customer and from focus groups and knowing, what TV shows they watch. And that's all great as a baseline, but things change really frequently. So again, it is following, what some of our influencers are talking about. We have a collegiate ambassador program. So it's listening to them, like what are they listening to, watching, like what are they excited about? They're excited about football season. They're excited about March Madness. And so it's leaning into just listening constantly to like what they're talking about. We also utilize a lot of the features on like Instagram stories to get an understanding of what they're watching on Netflix and then creating content around that. Like we know they're excited that Bridgerton season 2 is coming up at the end of this month. And again, I think it's just keeping a pulse on what she is thinking about and talking about. And what's interesting too is I feel like the team my social team that works on all this content, like we are not our customer. And so it's really like fun to like get into her mind and think about what she is, again, watching and doing. And then anytime we create social content around that, we see such a great response and engagement that we're like, okay, this is working. Let's continue to think like her.
All right, well, everyone, Andrea, thank you so much. Everyone give a big round of applause.
Thank you.
That was awesome.